Savvy Business Radio, home to over 500,000 listeners per month, and runs in syndication on 8 AM/FM stations nationwide, including iHeartRadio and 6 podcasting platforms. To find out about our paid sponsorship opportunities or to become a guest and find out how we can help you get your message out in a bigger way, call 732-474-7375 or email Christina at savvybusinessradio.com.
Our first guest today is Kathy Strad. She has always been a teacher at heart. Simply by being who she is, Kathy inspires those around her to be their best selves. You see, Kathy has been totally blind since the age of 2. Clearly, she faces life with great courage. Today, Kathy shares what the food giants don't want us to know. Find out more about Kathy at KathyStrahan.com. Our second guest is Christina Ines, author, speaker, and super awesome achiever. She is also the coach and founder of MindSprings. Their mission is to provide individuals with the skills and motivation needed to better their professional lives through understanding and mastery of the forces shaping them. Find out more about Christina and her book at quitbleepingaround.com. Hi, Kathy. Welcome back to you. It's wonderful to have you as a return guest. We have some of our most awesomest guests come back and share their wisdom. And today you're back with us to share some really interesting things about the big food giants out there, how people get hooked on unhealthy foods and such. And I know mine, as I told you before the interview, was Coca-Cola. I couldn't imagine a life without it. And I did get away from that stronghold that had over me with Coca-Cola eventually. But we're going to go into all of that. But before, in case anyone missed our first interview, share a little bit about your background, what led you to working in health and nutrition.
Well, and thank you. It's an honor to get asked back. I really appreciate that, Christina. So my background is a health seeker, which is for most of us who just have some nagging health issues throughout our life, we sort of tend to go that way. And so at the end of the broadcast, I want to give your audience a free book. This is a Kindle book that's on Amazon, but for your audience, I put it in a PDF format, so it's easy to download. It's called the 14-Day Gluten-Free Guide. Before I get into all this, Christina, what's fascinating to me is that, you know, when anybody ever says they have the answer, finally the answer to all of the dietary secrets, I've got the one answer here. Don't ever believe that, because they might think they do. They really might believe they do. And the reason I went into gluten-free was because 6 years ago I got really sick and nobody could figure out what was going on. And, reducing my gluten did help to a certain extent. But if you really want the truth of it, it's just the beginning. And what I have found, Christina, is that my big aha moment, which has happened in the last month, is that there is no such thing as a happily ever after answer to health. So although I really want to help your listeners and I can expose them to fascinating and really helpful information, I just want them to know that there is gluten-free is not the happily ever after. Paleo is not the happily ever. No dietary regime is going to just lift them up and send them into bliss forever and ever. So not that everyone believes that, but I know I did, Christina. And I tend to be that way with things. And that's my biggest confession, is that I don't want to ever mislead people to think, all right, you guys, I have all the answers. But what I do have is a love for finding out information to help us and to be more intuitive and more in touch with our bodies. And I think that's really healthy to come from that point of view rather than, okay, I got the answer. This is it, you guys. Mislead people. So
The interesting thing I'm picking up here is that I think, as you said, some people really believe this is it. This is the magic bullet, paleo or whatever, gluten-free. But everyone's body is different. Here's the thing I learned over the course of years with my own body is that your body also changes throughout your lifetime. It doesn't stay stagnant. So what worked for me at 20 does not work for me now in my 40s. So, and as you said, being intuitive and listening to your body. So yes, I just want to bring that in there as well.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. Mm-hmm. And even if as we tune more into that, it can change from even moment to moment to moment and from day to day. So let me give you another aha thing that I learned in the last couple of weeks, or last month anyway, is that functioning of the body, how you function is, you got to fix that first, and that's usually a metabolic thing. And when people hear the word metabolic, they think of how many calories you burn, but it's much deeper than that. It's all about your thyroid. It's about your stress hormones. It's all about that. And I'll come back to that in a minute, because body temperature, like, I don't know about you, but when I go to the doctor, my body temperature is always below 98.6, and that has been set to be the normal temperature. And so they stick that little temperature thing in your mouth, and they'll just pull it out, and they assume it's not going to be 98. They don't even think anything of it. Mine's always 97 point something. And the last couple of weeks, I've been taking my body temperature from learning from certain people about how that's one of the easiest non-techie thing you can do to see how your body is doing. And if you have a basal temperature that's below normal all the time, especially when you wake up in the morning, that's why we have problems digesting. That's why we have problems with stress and sleeping and all that. So we'll come back to that in a minute, but because it's like an epidemic. Most people do not have a good normal basal body temperature, and then you couple that with our modern life of less exercise, sitting in front of the TV or some sort of computer screen, and then you couple that with the typical food industry-based diet, which is the typical, American diet. So it's not so much the sugar and that's so bad for us. It's just that most of us are in a very low metabolic state. And then when you eat this really high calorie dense diet, which most people do eat because it's easy and it's convenient, we are busy, well, then you have a recipe for weight gain and addiction to food and binging and those kinds of things. So
can I stop you right there? I'm curious.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned temperature. And now I never thought of your temperature playing any sort of role in if you're healthy or not, or how your metabolic system is operating. Now, does this play a part in how your whole thyroid function works? Because I thought I heard that thyroid plays with the temperature gauging in your body and also your metabolism. Yes. It's all connected.
Yep. It's all connected with your stress hormones, your thyroid, all of those other tons of hormones in your body. People have problems with sugar, metabolism, and so on. It's quite complicated, and I'm just learning about it. So that's why I really want your listeners to go over into the glutenfreegirls.com and hook up with me, because I'm learning this stuff, which I think is critical to getting healthy, and then you can lose weight. So, look, most of us do the wrong thing, and we look at our body. I have a sister. We just talked over the last week, and it just broke my heart, because she says, I don't know what to do. I'm so desperate. I'm gaining weight, and she's not massively obese, so don't get me wrong, but those of us who believe that beauty and health is all about how lean we are and what the scale says, well, she's freaking out because she's in her early 50s and she's putting on a few pounds. So I told her about this metabolism thing, and I said the worst thing you can do is go back on a low-calorie diet, and you might lose weight, but you're going to lower your metabolism even further. And Christina, what's fascinating is I don't know if you saw this article this week or last week about The Biggest Loser thing, where they're looking back. There was this one guy who lost a ton of weight back in '09, and all of those people, if they scientifically took them, put them under all kinds of tests, and they realized that it's not only that they're gaining their weight back, but the worst part is that their metabolism has lowered so badly that they cannot even eat a regular. They have to live on 700, 800 calories if they want to maintain their weight loss. Nobody can do that.
Wow, so why?
Too hard on yeah, it's fascinating. So when you force your body and you say, okay, it's almost like punishment, especially The Biggest Loser. If they go on these hideously low-calorie diets and they exercise like crazy, and they get their result, but years later they can't hold it. They cannot keep that weight loss, and it's very common that this happens. It happens to most everybody if you do this massive kind of calorie deprivation, exercise like crazy kind of stuff. You'll get the result of weight loss, but you can't maintain that. And worst of all, you mess up your metabolism. And it's common that athletes have problems with their health because they exercise so hard. These people who go on these very strict diets have problems. So we're kind of going a little bit far astray from the food industry, but not really, because we're all having some low metabolism problems in this country and all over, actually, North America and all the Western in the Western world because of so many factors. We're less active. We are dominated by TV watching and all this technology. We're not moving our body. And you couple that with high stress that really... and our ancestors didn't have the stress we have because so many other factors. But couple all that with a high calorie, high sugar, and really poor fat like seed oils, and it's just a bad recipe for weight gain. And then people try to lose weight. Oh, it's miserable. It's a miserable loop that we've all got ourselves in.
How do we get out of it? It's scary.
It kind of is scary, but you kind of have to learn about your own stress. You have to look at your health profiles. You say, okay, am I sleeping right? Do I digest my food properly? The transition of digestion, am I, pooping right? Am I happy with that? I have to say, Christina, personally, I have had a very pristine diet for years and years and years. And I'll tell you that although my stress is a little bit better, I still am having trouble with the other important things in your life, like sleeping right and going to the bathroom like I want and dealing with stress. So what am I doing wrong? I mean, that has to be answered. And I think metabolism-wise, I think I have had a low metabolism all my life. So, when I take my temperature, it's low. I was shocked when I started doing this. So I would wake up sometimes with a temperature of under 96 degrees. That's super low, 95 point something. I've been able to raise, one thing about raising it, you can do it pretty quickly if you stop being so fearful of food. So, I would not eat dried fruit for years and years and years. And I like prunes and dates and things like that. So according to this interesting information I started reading, is that one thing that raises your metabolic rate is to, first of all, not be so pristine with your diet. Believe it or not, sometimes you can have too healthy of a diet. Now, this is really crazy stuff. Yeah. So you can be like, okay, so I can eat absolutely no sugar. I would just feel so proud of myself to never eat sugar. Okay, so over the last couple of weeks, I have introduced more dates and more prunes and things that I really, really like sugary stuff. Like I'm not going to go out and have like eat tons of candy for this experiment that I'm on. I'm experimenting. So frankly, I've been able to raise my temperature about a degree or more. So like my hands and feet are not so freezing cold. Like that's another symptom of low metabolism. Super cold fingers and toes. Like when you touch somebody, like, oh my God, your hands are ice cold.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have been that way for years. So my hands and feet are getting a little bit warmer. My basal temperature when I wake up is more like 96, so a little bit closer to 97. It's still not ideal, far from it, but I think over time, as I start to raise my metabolism, my basal rate, I think I'm going to see some improvements in my health that I didn't see with eating this very pristine, only organic, like grass-fed stuff and no sugar, a lot of less fruit and things that I really like. So what I'm trying to say to you is that metabolic rate function, you have to raise that first before going on a super, super healthy, no sugar, all that kind of thing diet. And then you might see some improvements in your health.
I'm curious because I know a couple of friends who always complain, I'm cold. They have had...
Oh, my God.
Yes, and they've had an increase in weight, as I have. I've gained 50 pounds in the past 2 years, and I totally think it's my thyroid. My thyroid had been hyper, now it's hypo. When I'm not cold, but my friends who have said I'm cold all the time and they've gained weight, how do they begin to get a handle on what I need to change? I mean, is it looking at the whole lifestyle? Like, do I need to look at how much I'm sleeping? Do I need to look at what I'm putting in my mouth? Where do they begin?
I think the first place is to start seeing what your body temperature is. First thing in the morning, just get a really cheap digital thermometer. This is what I did. And by the way, where I've learned this is from a book called Diet Recovery. It's by Matt Stone, and he wrote about this several years ago, and I just have been starting to learn about it. He's not the only one writing about it. Ray Peat, and I'll send you some information. But anyway, so what you want to do is see how your body temperature is. Obviously, if you've got cold hands and feet, the metabolic rate is way below 98.6. And so, yes, it's affecting the thyroid. If you probably people who are super cold like that, like me, get stressed out about things. And so you've got a lot of stress. So your thyroid is low. Nothing wrong with your thyroid, probably. It's more about how your body is processing stress, cortisol, things like that. It's all related. And so then what you would want to do is, I think, going on thyroid medication, according to the information that I've read, is you want to do that as a last-ditch thing. So probably your friends, now, are they super healthy eaters, for one thing? Do you know?
No, they're not. I wouldn't say so. And that's the other thing I wanted to ask you. I know for me, my big no-no is in particular chocolate. And I'm now working with a client in a consulting practice that has chocolate all about for their vendors and people who come in. So I find myself snacking on chocolate all day long now, when I used to just do 2 pieces a day. But for craving, like we talked about my Coca-Cola thing, that I used to love Coke. Now I'm myself from it. I believe that people probably have a craving that is tied to something going on inside of them. Their body's like pulling them in that direction, but maybe not for the reasons they think.
Yes, because see, sugar and carbohydrates is what your body is craving, because that is one of the best ways to reduce your stress.
Get out.
It's fascinating. I know. Wow. I know. I'm not. This is what I've been reading. So think about it. When you eat a comfort food, when you eat chocolate, when you eat something that you're craving, your body is saying, help me. I need to reduce the stress right here. So, and it does. It helps you sleep better. It helps you. So the worst. So right now, so your body is saying it's put on weight because it's protecting you from something. I think. Have you ever heard of John Gabriel and the Gabriel method?
No.
Have you ever heard of him? Oh gosh, he is fascinating. So here's a guy. Okay, listen to this story.
Okay.
So this guy was never heavy. He could eat anything he wanted. He didn't eat a super healthy diet or anything like that, but he was lean all of his life. And then he moved to New York City to partner with a friend who turned out to be very stressed. He created a lot of stress in this guy's life, in John's life, John Gabriel, plus the stress of the finance world. And all of a sudden, for no reason he could understand, at first, he started to gain weight, no matter what he ate. Good food, bad food, whatever you want to label it. But he put on like 200 pounds. He became like 400 pounds. Huge. Whoa. And no matter what he did, diets were the worst thing he did. He went on the Atkins diet. He went to all the best people in the world. He had a lot of money, so he could consult with all the high top people to lose weight, and it wouldn't work no matter what he did. And so he had an epiphany, though, one day driving down the road. I haven't read his book yet, but I'm looking. He's on YouTube everywhere. Just Google John Gabriel.
Okay.
And he has a background of biochemistry. And he had just this epiphany where he's realized no matter what he did to lower his weight, it wasn't going to work. His body wanted him to be fat, and it was for a good reason. It was to protect him. Wow. So you ought to just have him on your show. He has been through it, and he has been able to he wrote, Gabriel Method is just all over the internet, and I think has helped people to respect their body and go at it in terms of going at it in terms of just realizing that weight is a protective mechanism.
Is it protective both emotionally and physically, like protecting you also from stress as well as maybe emotional issues?
Yes, because for some people, they can go back and look at their lives in terms of what events protected me against maybe even some abusive situations. If I get heavy, then this person will stop sexually abusing me. Things like that. You can go back and look at people's lives, and weight is a protection. Plus, it is a protection against stress. If you have a very stressful job, food is comforting and keeps that stress from, hurting your body in other ways. But yeah, it's complicated and it's so individual. So,
fascinating.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, we had talked earlier before the interview that how do some of the addictive foods also play a part in our cravings and such? Because I had, I said chocolate, but also prior to that, huge addiction to Coca-Cola. I had 2 liters a day, girl. 2 liters a day.
Yeah.
And I couldn't imagine a life without Coca-Cola until I weaned myself off. What I eventually did is I started mixing it with water a little bit, and then I started buying less of it. And then as I told one of my past guests, I made it so that if I had to get it per can, I wouldn't buy it in the house. I said if I really want, I have to go walk several blocks to go get it. And that weighed it. Like, do I really feel like going out in the rain for, a can of Coke, or am I going to? So I kind of did it that way over a period of time. But explain why these foods have such a hold over us, and what, maybe some of the things you've learned about ways we can release the hold they have on us.
Yeah. Well, let me give you the answer in 2 ways. First of all, let's go from the food industry's point of view and their idea. I mean, these are big, gigantic businesses who have to make money for their investors and all that. So they have to make sure they know. They do lots and lots of research, functional MRIs. They take people and they put them in a room and they say, let's see, let me feed you Coca-Cola here, and let's see how your brain is affected by it. Oh, let's tweak it a little bit more here and there and make sure that it lights up in just the right way. So first of all, we have the food industry working on us on that, and because believe me, when they want you to keep buying more and more of it because they have to make money. So then then you've got that part of it, and then you've got your own body, working to satisfy keeping the stress down in your body. So sugar is one of the best ways to keep your stress down. So I'm painting a bad picture here, but there is a way out, and that is to learn about our body in terms of what's going on with us. We have to sit down and be quiet and get calm and realize, so what's driving me? And I think I'll just be really open and transparent with you, and that is that for me, I want to be successful. I want to help people. I want to do that. And when I come up short, it puts stress on me. Somehow I've got this drive, and it's all about what people think of me and what my body looks like and all of those kinds of things. And that's not fair to my body. That's not fair to me. That's not exactly how I'm going to get my answers in the outer world. It's going to be more inside of me. And comforting comes from inside of me. And happiness has to come inside of me, not what I'm doing in the outside world. So everyone has a different story and a different thing they're trying to live up to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I completely can relate to your reasoning, because for me, I've realized over the past year, and I've talked to a number of past guest coaches and such who say, hey, I'm trying to live up to a certain ideal of what we think the success coach is. And really, it's an ideal we built up in our head of perfection that doesn't exist, and this illusion that we're trying to live up to. And then we put that unneeded stress on our body.
Perfection. Oh, my gosh. So like that stress and raising our metabolism and all of that stuff can be a way to start having a happier relationship with your body and with your life.
No, I get you. Because what I keep pulling from your conversation that comes up several times already is stress. That stress is the biggest factor to unhealthiness and to our gaining of weight. That's a protective mechanism for many things, but including stress. Now, have you discovered anything in your process and journey that has helped you reduce stress for you?
That is a really, really good question, because I think for me, I have to get enough sleep. So there's certain things that contribute to stress in our lives. So I think I was kind of born with a low metabolism, and I think it kind of runs in my family. We're all so stressed out in my family, and it's like when I see my dad right now is 85 years old. He lost my mom 9 years ago, suddenly. So he has the beginnings of dementia, and he still lives by himself, and I see how he lives his life. I'm seeing it more clearly now and how he affected all of us. He was a high-stress guy, and he stressed us out growing up. So ever since we were real little kids, we were always hyper-vigilant about not making my dad mad, not getting him angry, so it creates a constant stress growing up. Now, everyone has to look back at their own life and say, how did I grow up? Was I always being judged about how I looked and how I acted and how I came across? Plus, I also was in the hospital when I was only 2 years old for an entire month because of my blindness. I had cancer. So I know it must have been very stressful. My mom told me, can you imagine my mom leaving every night and leaving me in the hospital? It was horrible.
Yeah.
Try to heal that and look back on that. I think for me, once I heal that and be okay with who I am, and that's going to really reduce my stress.
So it seems to me what I'm getting is once you start to get clear, and maybe the key word is aware of the different circumstances in which your body and mind, body, and spirit reacts to stress, that is the first process to you becoming healed, or not totally healed maybe, but healthier, and getting a more healthier wellness lifestyle. I
think so. I really do.
Mind, body, spirit, or mind and spirit, but missing out the body part is, I think, what we stop listening to. I know for myself, and I've heard from a number of others, that we don't tune into what is my body saying about this particular food after I eat it, whatever it might be.
Yeah, I really do, and I think I'm gonna start. Now, this is really fun, Christina, that you and I are on a path of we don't have all the answers. What we want to do is experiment. We want to share with you what we have found. That's what I love about your show. So you find new, you find new information, you share it. Okay, here's what I found. See if it works for you, and then go from there. Like, I will say that it looks like the Gabriel method, John Gabriel, has had a lot of success. Well, he's kept his weight off, 200 pounds for like 7 or 8 years, and he has some visualizations. He has a whole big empire built on this. I think it's successful. I will say this though, they're online. There's this guy, he had a show about low carb. What's his name? Jimmy Moore. And it's so sad because his whole life was built around this low carb, zero carb almost kind of life. And he started to gain all of his weight back. See, what happens when you go on these diets long term, at first you see they have a honeymoon period where everything goes right, and I've never had a honeymoon period with any of these things. Maybe that's a good thing. But I never have had like, wow, perfect. I've never seen my body react like this. Yeah. Thank God maybe that's a good thing. So anyway, but after about 2 years, his whole body started to fall apart. And so I don't know how his life is now. This was like about 4 years ago. All of a sudden, nothing was working for him. I don't know how it is now in 2016. So there is no, perfection is an illusion, I guess, right?
Yeah, there's no magic pill out there. But what is cool, and we talked about this in the beginning, that our body and our mind, body, and spirit is constantly in flux and changing. And to really listen to all three parts of yourself to say, where am I today? What am I feeling, thinking, emotionally? Where am I? To get a clear picture on your health. So before we we're about to end our show here. Let everyone know where they can find out more about you. And you mentioned that wonderful book.
Oh, thank you. So just go to theglutenfreegirls.com. It's not all about gluten-free that I'm going to share with you, but this PDF will start you off, especially just giving you some information about the food industry and especially the packaged food that is all over the place, the gluten-free packaged food. It's a good way for me to start helping you with what I know and the information that I'm running across, and we can all learn together, Christina. And I think that's the beauty of your show and this journey of health that we're all on, so we can help each other.
Absolutely. It's fantastic having you back here, Kathy. And it's so true. Together as a community, we can all learn, grow, and be healthy. So again, I want to thank you for coming back to Savvy Business Radio.
Oh, my pleasure. And it's a thank you to you, Christina. Thank you very much.
Windtee Aviation T-Shirt Art, a one-stop shop solution for all your graphic art needs. From logos, business cards, book covers, and banners. Contact windtee.com today in order to find out how your design could become a reality. Now here's our interview with Christina Hines, author, speaker, super awesome achiever. Hi, Christina. Welcome to Savvy Central Radio. How are you today?
Hello. Thank you. I am great.
I am so happy you were able to join us, and we had a bit of scheduling glitches due to my life being really crazy the past couple of months, but I want to thank you again for holding out and coming back to talk to our audience. You are also a good friend of ours, Michelle Helms, who connected us. Thank you, Michelle. And you're going to share with our audience, you are a coach doing amazing stuff in the world, but you wrote a book that really caught my attention called Quit Bleeping Around, 77 Secrets to Super Achieving, which I love.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I could also relate to the fact that you said you were a super achiever and perfectionist, because I, for years, would put myself under unnecessary stress, calling myself a perfectionist when I'm like, what is that? And for what I did 2 years ago would not be acceptable to what I'm doing today, because I would look at it and go like, it's not good enough. So what is this super achieving perfection thing? We'll go into all of that. Before we go there, share a little bit about your background, what led you to the world of coaching and to writing your book.
It's been an interesting path. Well, first of all, I have always been, a super achiever is defined as someone who achieves more than most. Mm-hmm. And I have found as a child, I have always done that. And the everyday super achiever tends to get chastised by their peers or appreciated, but it almost seems like it's either hot or cold. So I experienced that as a child, and then I went into college, decided to go into the realm of criminal justice, and I became a crime analyst. And then I went to the FBI and became a violent crime analyst. So I was able to work with a lot of different agencies on their homicide, sexual assaults. Really had a lot of fun there. So I thought I was going to spend my entire career in violent crime analysis. Then I got a bad boss. and and he really did not appreciate my superachiever abilities. So I had a moment where I sat there and said, all right, Chris, it's time to quit bleeping around and let's go somewhere where people appreciate your superachieverness while you can also change the leadership of the FBI. So I wheedled my way into the leadership development program. And that's where I discovered it was almost like the gifted program for the FBI, where people were appreciated for being superachievers. And that's also where I discovered the world of coaching. I fell in love with it. And I had always been a trainer in the classroom. And I also got introduced more to soft skills and mindsets and all of that wonderful stuff. So I was able to relate all of my background stuff and really pour that into becoming a coach and quit bleeping around, working on being a superachiever. And I had so much fun. I decided I really wanted to go out and almost supercharge everything by starting my own business. And that's what I did. And the book is the first product of that. And it's interesting. You were talking about perfectionism. Maybe we can get into this later, but I was, as you were doing that, I was looking at the cover of the book. And part of getting over perfectionism is to quit bleeping around and get to it and just get it done, right? So that's why I specifically chose a simple cover for the book. So that it's representing not allowing your perfectionist tendencies to take over and just get it done.
Wow. I really like that you mentioned that, because when I first saw it, I thought, okay, you worked at the FBI as a employee at one point. Now you work there giving workshops and such and self-development and such. But what I thought interesting is I looked at the cover and thought, oh, she must be very, FBI type is very in the box and you're going to keep things very rigid. And I was like, okay, so it's a very simple cover to match that. But that's not at all what you chose it.
Nope. Yeah, it's interesting because when I was doing my my research on all the different books in the industry, etc., a lot of them were very busy, had a lot of photos, had a lot of artwork, and I thought, you know what, that takes especially when you want to superachieve and have the best cover out there, right? that it tends to instigate or start the perfectionist tendencies. So I thought, no, I'm going to have my book represent, get it done, and move on to the next thing and keep going, because we need people to superachieve in this world.
That's right. And what's interesting when I was reading your book is I thought to myself, all the times that I'd overachieved or superachieved, I now have been able to reflect over the past couple of years and realize that a good portion of it wasn't even that I wanted to do a super awesome job, as I always do. I do want to do a good job, but it came from a different, as we were talking, mindsets and such that play a part in why we do what we do, is that a lot of it had to do with wanting to get to people please, to actually have this need to have people like me. And it wasn't until that I even came into recognition of what that idea of perfection and trying to actually superachieve came from. It really came from the core that I really want to have people like me.
Yes. Yeah.
So I wonder.
That's actually a saboteur.
That's right.
Yes, that can hold us back. Yeah.
So because what I'm thinking is a lot of people out there might be superachievers or what they call a perfectionist, but not always for reasons that they think. It might not always be to do the best job they can. Sometimes it might play a saboteur or background mindset that's really actually stopping them from actually being their best. Have you recognized that by working with some of your clients?
Yes. Actually, I'm so glad you brought that up. There are... Okay, so let's look at a healthy superachiever. At their core, there's just a drive, a focused determination to make an impact on the world. Then you have your superachievers that perhaps need some work on their mindset, which is why I wrote the book. They go into what's called either a hyperachiever mode or an overachiever mode. Mm-hmm. And that's where they feel like they need to achieve to, really it's how they are accepted in the world or receive love, etc., like that. And actually refer that to overachieving. That's why I specifically called it superachieving, because it's like superpowers. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. So a healthy superachiever has a healthy mindset. It's a focused determination. And it's interesting that you were saying the pleaser, because that is often what holds a superachiever back. They don't want to show up fully because it makes other people uncomfortable. For example, I just remember there's when I was a violent crime analyst, I would do about 30 reports a month, and my peers were doing 2.
Whoa! And
when the pleaser took over, I would go do reports for other people to help them look good, so that I wasn't sticking out as much and making other people feel bad. So it can go there's so many levels here.
Yeah. And this is fascinating for me because you think being a perfectionist, quote unquote, or a superachiever can work out only in your benefit, but it depends on how it's being used and what's the mindset behind it. When you just said there that you would do reports for your friend, I remember one girl was so uncomfortable by the fact that I worked in collections and AR. So I would bring in one case, in this one company I worked in, between the 8 collectors, I brought in more than all of them combined. And the girl next to me got the most angry. She was like finding ways to want to get rid of me. And what I did to calm her down is I said, when you go on vacation, let me take all your accounts. I made her accounts look amazing. And she's like, I love you. But you're doing a good thing, but really it's coming from the idea that I want to just make people like me. I want to make them all happy with me. Now, what can a superachiever do so that, hey, they got people around them who are a little sketchy there. You're making us look bad. What can they do so they can be more in tune with being in the group, not separate from the group, but at the same time using their super awesome superpowers of achieving for good?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
And that is really the core is quit bleeping around. Quit worrying about what other people think.
Yeah.
And there's a whole issue related to, the book, it's interesting how the book evolved. So originally I wrote it as a frustrated superachiever, finally learning how to step into superachieving and quit worrying about what everyone else is thinking. But it's morphing into, a lot of people want to know, okay, what are some ways that I can superachieve if I'm not innately a superachiever? And which also answers your question is, one, to help the other people around you come up to your level. And then 2, to not worry about it by taking yourself through, and it's 5 areas that really the book covers in the 77 Secrets. It's mindset, resilience, connection with others, self-care, and always be developing yourself. So the superachiever can work on that in themselves, as well as sometimes sneakily help others around them work on that, which in a way you were by helping that woman with her caseload while she was on vacation.
Yeah. The only problem that becomes when you take on other people's work is that, in my case, it was purely done, and I totally did not realize this until later, but subconsciously it was really done to get her to like me and stop not liking me. Because, yeah. So that was the glitch there. But interestingly, when you mentioned that, I had a wonderful boss, one of the best bosses I've ever worked with, and I've had some bad ones like you have, but this one boss, what was really cool about him is he always saw the best in everyone. Whatever skills and talents you had, he pushed you to use them to the fullest of your potential. And we all hated him because for me, as a superachiever, I would come and work 12, 13, 14 hours a day. And when he asked me what I thought to do more, I thought, well, are you kidding me? do I have to give my firstborn child away? I'm already giving you 14 hours a day. But for him, it wasn't so much that he wanted me to work more hours. He wanted me to work in a way that would be more healthy for me and bring out my best skills and talent. So it wasn't about me doing more. It was about me giving my best self. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's what superachieving is all about.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what he was doing for us in our department. It's really helping us get in touch with what is your greatest talent. So here's the instance. I had been taking Spanish, and I wanted to learn the language very well. So I had been taking it for a couple of years, and he said, okay, from now on, you're working all the Spanish accounts are in Spanish-speaking countries, and you're going to call them and deal with them in Spanish. I was like, excuse me? And I am not Spanish-speaking. It's one thing to do conversational Spanish. It's another to do business Spanish and be able to conduct business in Spanish. He's like, you can do it. Go to it. Here are the 30 accounts. Start calling them, whatever. And I was like, you've got to be nuts. There's no way I could do that. And I was able to do it with his pushing me. I was able to learn and grow. But it's a good leader that can learn to help you super achieve.
Yes. It's funny that you say that. One of the chapters is whatever it is, I can do it. So it's about having that mindset that no matter what it is, if I don't know how to do it right now, I'm going to learn how to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh boy. And have I learned that with starting my business? And that's a touchy one too, Christina, because I find that when I was running my own business, I said, okay, I'll create my own website. I'll put out all my marketing tools. What I've learned in the past couple of years is learning to start delegate the things I'm not good at, because I can learn. And I've done that where I forced myself to learn how to put the website together. But is that the best use of my time? So I think, when you quit bleeping around and be a super achiever, find ways to use your best talents and gifts to the utmost and let go of the other stuff and give them to someone else who's super awesome at that.
Exactly. I love that. Yeah, and actually it's interesting. One thing that's on my project list is to create a super achiever planner for the best way to manage your time. And that, thank you for that. If you don't mind, I'm going to steal that and add that as a tip on that one.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yes.
Now, you've done a lot of self-development with people. What have you seen some of the things that stop people from being the best achieving self they can be?
Oh, that is a great, I love that question. Thank you. It is all about the mindset. That is the core to everything. The other stuff follows, like self-care, connection with others, that kind of stuff. But the core is the mindset. And what gets in our way the most is ourselves, our thoughts, quite simply. So I love, actually, it's funny, on my LinkedIn profile, I put metacognition advocate. Because that's what it is. It's metacognition. It's to get people to think about their thinking and how the stories that they create, the negative voices that they listen to, literally creates their reality. And it is amazing the impact it can have on a person. You can change your entire lot in life with changing a few thoughts.
Wow. And Christina, I've read so many things about this concept. It sounds like, oh, okay, it makes sense. You keep thinking a certain something, you're going to keep attracting that to you. And I think all of us at different times, maybe not all of us listening in, but a good many of us have probably heard similar thoughts in different ways of how, what you focus on, you bring to you or attract or whatever. But what I've found for me, and some of the things that have happened in the past are miracles. Like one thing, for instance, for me is every time I need an awesome space to live in, I decide this is where I want to live. It doesn't matter where the heck it is. The place I'm living in now was in a certain price range. I believe $1,400 for a studio, and I had $750 at the time I could play with. And I said, you know what? This is where I want to live. That's where I'm going to live. Period. And so I put it out there, and I started looking at all the different agencies around here, realty agencies, and they were all not going to happen. I could just see them ripping up my application when I leave a couple blocks down the road. But I got to the last agency, and she said the same thing to me. I was the fifth one that day, and she was like, I can't help you. You're wasting my time. Nothing in that price range. Everything in this neighborhood starts at $1,300 for a studio, and you're not going to find anything less. I said, yes, I will. It'll come in, and when it does, give me a call first, since I'm the one that asked for it. And hey, crazy lady, go away. So, but here's the funny thing. While we're talking, the phone rings, and she's she's taking down this listing, and she's looking at me, and she looks a little like, oh my. And then she hangs up, and she's like, you're not going to believe this. A studio just came in for $560. I don't know what else it's like, but do you want to go look at it? And I said, sure, let's go. Christina, if I could tell you, you could eat off the floor of this apartment. The entire building was once a hotel. It is fabulous. It's amazing. Wow. It just turned out the person who had lived here previously had been here a long time, so the rent had not been increased a lot, a big range in a long time. So it was literally $560 10 years ago when I moved in.
Wow.
Yes, but everyone,
Yeah.
that's why I say what's possible is what you decide is possible, and you put a focus on what you want.
Oh, yeah. It's funny as you say that. One of the chapters is go ahead, tell me I can't do it.
Yeah.
The other one is nothing can stop you if you truly believe.
Mm-hmm. And
yes.
It's so true. And how many times, I'm sure you have too, how many times we've been told in our lives, well, this isn't possible, that isn't possible. There's been someone to make it happen. I think there's one guy I had on several years ago who had a really death illness, like he was near his deathbed. And he said he wanted to do this one huge dream, and it was really an athletic type of dream. And the doctor was like, hey, you're on your deathbed. It's not going to happen. But he held on to this dream, and he said, I'm not leaving this planet yet. I want to do this. And 2 years from that date, he was alive and healthy and completing his dream. And I've heard...
Wow.
And so it's so possible, but it's really what you say makes sense. It really starts with the mindset.
Yes, well, that's that focused determination, the perseverance, and the resilience. See, and part of the mindset is that adversity is a gift. If we look back at everything that's happened in our past that we have labeled as bad, something has come out of it that has changed us. For example, I learned, and I'm still continuing to learn. I mean, my father passed away 10 years ago, and I'm learning every day still from that passing. From immediately when that happened, I came back and decided life was too short. I need to make some changes in my life. And actually, I talk about a few of the stories in the books. But it led to new relationships, freedom, independence, and then using his life as an example. He's part of the reason I wrote this book. So, so really, it's looking back at everything that's happened in our life that, especially, it's really hard when we're in the middle of it, but but looking back after and seeing that the gifts that it has brought us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
And it's so true. I mean, I've had some difficult times, and even a couple years ago, I had a really difficult moment in my life where everything looked really bleak, and I was like determined, and there's the determination and resilience you talked about. I was determined that this is just the winter. It looks bad right now. It looks really pretty.
There you go.
Yeah, it looks bad, but spring is right on the corner. It really is. and nothing is the same forever. So I just kept on holding to the point that things are awful right now. It looks pretty darn bad, but it will not stay this way. It will get better. And some people around me were like, why aren't you freaking out? You should be freaking out. I was like, freaking out would not change the outcome. It's still really bad right now. But things did change around really awesomely, and that was part of the reason how I started this business, and it came from adversity. And it's interesting how sometimes adversity in our lives are some of the greatest times in which we can grow and allow us time to, and you've seen that with your own life, correct?
Yes. Well, and you remember in my bio, I talked about the boss from hell, if you will.
Oh, yes.
Well, I am so thankful to that man now, because if I hadn't had him as a boss, I wouldn't be here speaking with you today. I would probably still be working violent crime. Yeah.
And when I was reading I could totally relate, and I was like, oh yeah, I've been there. I had one boss many years ago. We called her, Crazy something. I'm not going to tell you her name in case anyone who knows me listens in and says, I know who you're talking about. But they would know who I'm talking about just by her way of being. She was horrible, not fun to be with. But one point I had staplers thrown in my head, screaming all the way to the bathroom stalls while I'm trying to, take a pee. So yeah, she was a lot of fun to work with. But interestingly, 7 years before I met her, I was at a corporate job saying, is this it? I can't do this for the rest of my life. I was 30 or 31, and I wanted a different life, but I couldn't imagine what the heck of vocation I would do. But I didn't do anything about it. I just sat here going, I can't do this. I can't imagine doing this. What else? But I didn't take any steps forward. It wasn't that wonderful, amazing, crazy boss, as I called her, that I started to go, that's it. Things are changing. And part of the steps to also my health going down, taking a downturn, along with working with this boss, really helped me take the steps forward to a different life. Yeah.
So she helped you quit bleeping around and move on.
That's right. And the adversity again. Comes to the rescue.
Yes.
So it's a blessing in disguise. Like you were just saying before the call, my beautiful, wonderful little doggy Henry here had gotten dreadfully sick last week, but we came to realize that he has a greater issue with his digestive system, which you and mentioned.
Yeah.
The blessing is that had we not had this one issue, we wouldn't have realized he has the other issue. So as you
Yes.
said, yeah, absolutely. So what does it
There's
look
the
like when?
gift.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you worked with groups, do you also work individually or only with groups?
Well, at this point, I do work with individuals. With groups, it's mainly keynote speaking.
Okay.
I am expanding a lot, though, working on online suite of courses so more people can access them. And actually, I'm thinking of starting my own podcast.
Ooh, you go, girl.
You've inspired me. You have inspired me.
And it's going to be called Quit Bleeping Around because I think it's a really awesome.
Of course.
Yeah. What is on the horizon for you in the coming future then? When it comes to, are you going to do more keynote speeches? Do you have books planned? What does it look like?
Oh, yes. Thank you. I have lots of online classes planned. I've already planned out the second book on superachiever habits. I'd also like to do a superachieving journal, a superachieving planner, more keynote speeches, and maybe even a coaching, because coaching superachievers is harder than your average person.
Explain
it's challenging. It's very challenging. One thing, superachievers, they can be very skillful at being sneaky with, we call them saboteurs in coaching, because they're usually so good at explaining stuff, and you have to see through the baloney, if you will.
Yeah.
Yes. So to push them harder, like the boss that you said would push you, it's harder to push superachievers. It's just more challenging. So I was looking at maybe even doing some sort of superachiever certification to help coaches be able to coach high-performing individuals, to challenge them effectively.
Oh, I like that. Challenge them effectively. Because it's not, for me, when he challenged me, I took it like a front against the good work I was doing or what I thought I was doing. And he said to me one time, he pulled me in the office, he said, I'm not saying you're not doing good work. You are a diamond in the rough. You could run departments, billion-dollar departments, but I see that you need refinement. So when I'm getting on your case, he did me a great favor. And when he did that, he changed my life. He totally did. There was Crazy Boss, and then there was this boss. So he was just before Crazy Boss, but he helped me on the road to seeing how perception does play a part. Because I was such an overachiever, I didn't realize people around me, why they were angry at me. I just thought, well, they're lazy. What the heck is wrong with them? And he was like, no, they are thinking you don't care about them because you're so like a machine. You need to get to the point where you start noticing how other people operate and not see them as bad, but different. And how can you add to the department to make it even better? So he is amazing, girl. And what he did is he said, and also you come in here dressed like a 14-year-old. He said, you come in here with sparkly eyeshadow, and you say you want to be a leader in like a big corporate company. Well, I'm sorry, people are not going to listen to you when you have sparkly eye glitter and like tight pants on. So what he did for me, that one conversation, I went out that evening to Macy's, bought myself 4 suits, a briefcase, did a haircut, came in the next day and said, hi, how are you, to each person. They almost,
wow.
They're like, who are you and why are you talking to me? I've never talked to him in the 5 years I've been there. But in that 1 month, everyone started to respect me. We started to build a rapport with each other. We started working well together. That boss kicked butt. And see, he was a super achieving boss that helped everyone super achieve. Yes, and that is the goal. Of this whole process he sounds like he has the quit bleeping around mentality. Yeah. He could work well with you. Do workshops together. Well, There we go. Yeah. Let everyone know where they can find out more about you, work in one of your workshops, come hear you speak, buy your book. How can they do all that? Well, I have a website, quitbleepingaround.com, that has all of that information. That's where I have all of my speaking engagements. You can purchase the book through that. The courses will be rolled out there. The podcast you'll be able to see on the site. So it's kind of a one-stop shop for all of it. Oh, fabulous. Well, I want to thank you again, Christina. It has been so wonderful having you talk about this important subject because As a super achiever, it does not mean you're not doing a good job. It just means you can work more effectively and bring out your greater gifts and talent. And Christina is just the one to help you do
Exactly. Oh, thank you.
So thank you again, Christina, for coming to Savvy Business Radio.
Thank you.
SavvyBusinessRadio.com, home to over 500,000 global listeners via our podcast and AM/FM platforms. We help business owners connect to successful individuals who share their gifts with the world. Get your message out in a bigger way with Savvy's live, professionally recorded shows. Find out more at SavvyBusinessRadio.com.
Winty Aviation T-Shirt Art, a one-stop shop solution for all your graphic art needs. From logos, business cards, book covers, and banners. Contact Winty.com today in order to find out how your design could become a reality.